It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen on fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Dharma Pujita Kaitravo Tra Paramo Nimatsanam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayan Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vapurer Ishvara Sadyo Hidya Varudyate Tra Krite Bihi Sususubhistakshanat, completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient within itself for God realization. What is the need for any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kalpatarur galitam phalam sukumakad amritam dravya samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam Muhur Aho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavukaha. O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, text number 36 again. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities, or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord who continuously, O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat, the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, cannot be seen by our present conditional vision. In order to see him, one has to change his present vision by developing a different condition of life full of spontaneous love of Godhead. When Sri Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Materialists like Ravana, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandha, and Sisupala were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. The necessary qualification is developed by the process of devotional service only, beginning with hearing about the Lord from the right sources. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the popular literatures which are generally heard, chanted, and repeated, etc., by the people in general. But in spite of such hearing, etc., sometimes it is experienced that the performer of such devotional service does not see the Lord eye to eye. The reason is that the first item, Shravana, is very important. If hearing is from the right sources, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and then hear from him. Then the hearing process is perfect and complete. The other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. Yeah, there's a verse that says, Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Ganiyat Yasavairagam Gyanam Chayad Haitukam. That's the first canto, second chapter, and it says that Vasudevi Bhagavati, by engaging in the service of the Lord, then certain things happen. That is, one develops knowledge and renunciation. So, therefore, the statement that when the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. Huh? It's what? Oh, 7. Okay, yeah. Yeah, by rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Okay. There are different transcendental activities of the Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord begin from his dealings with the Pandavas. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealings with the Asuras and others. And in the 10th canto, the sublime dealings with his conjugal associates, the gopis, as well as with his married wives at Dwarka, are mentioned. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference in the transcendental nature of each and every dealing of the Lord. But sometimes people in an unauthorized hearing process take more interest in hearing about his dealings with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer. So a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulges in such hearings. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures. And that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. One should not, therefore, consider that his dealings with the Pandavas are less important than his dealings with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to all mundane attachment. In all the above-mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances, and hearing about him or about his devotees or combatants is conducive to spiritual life. It is said that the Vedas and Puranas, etc., are all made to revive our lost relation with him. Hearing of all these scriptures is essential. So, in the 1970s, while Prabhupada was still present, there was a group that was formed in Los Angeles called the Gopi Bhava Group. Yeah. And they, men and women, devotees, would gather in somebody's home, and they would read Krishna book about the Rasa Leela of Radha and Krishna and the gopis. And they would meditate on that particular pastime, and talk all kinds of nonsense for hours. And when Prabhupada heard this, he became very upset. So he called the leader, or the leaders of that group, and he asked them what they're doing. And he said, well, Prabhupada, you've written that in the Krishna book that one can control sex life by meditating on the conjugal pastimes of Krishna, like in the Rasa Lila, like in the Krishna book. So that's what we're doing. We're following your instructions. He said, Prabhupada was almost shaking with anger, and he said, if you're going to follow my instructions, then follow Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada, Yasya Prasadana Nagatir Gatopi, Dayam Stutmam Stasya, Yashastri Sandam, Bande Gudorsi Charanaramindam. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, one should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day, and offer one's respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So he said, if you're going to meditate on something, meditate on this. Or you meditate on Guru Mukha Padma Vaikya Chitete Kariya Aikya. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from my spiritual master. So these are the 2 things you should meditate on. And so he was very upset, and he disbanded that group. And the leader of that group left in disgust. And up until today, he's still a blasphemer of Krishna consciousness and indirectly of Srila Prabhupada. See, this is what happens when you become too smart, over-intelligent, and you think you can second-guess the guru and the sampradaya. That's why it says here, but sometimes people in an unauthorized hearing process take more interest in hearing about his dealings with the gopis. Such an inclination indicates the lusty feelings of the hearer. So a bona fide speaker of the dealings of the Lord never indulges in such hearings. One must hear about the Lord from the very beginning, as in the Srimad Bhagavatam or any other scriptures, and that will help the hearer attain perfection by progressive development. One should not therefore consider that his dealings with the Pandavas are less important than his dealings with the gopis. We must always remember that the Lord is always transcendental to all mundane attachment. In all the above-mentioned dealings of the Lord, he is the hero in all circumstances, and hearing about him or about his devotees or combatants, the combatants are the demons, right? You would say, well, what's the benefit of hearing about the demons that fight against Krishna? But when you read more carefully, you'll see that those demons are actually devotees. They were put in that, they were at least Ravana and Kumbhakarna and Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, and Sisupala and Dantavakra, and then later on Jagai and Madai. They were all devotees, the same persons. Who fell down from the spiritual world. It's not Jagai and Madai, it's Jagai and Madai were the ones who fell down from the spiritual world. The last one was okay, I'll think of it in a minute. So, anyway, the Krishna doesn't fight with low-class demons. He fights with devotees who take the part of demons to please the Lord by giving him a chance to fight. The Lord likes to fight sometimes. Right? Okay, so that's one point we didn't cover yesterday. And the other point that I wanted to cover was there are different transcendental activities of the Lord, and each and every one of them is competent to bestow the desired result, provided the hearing process is perfect. In the Bhagavatam, the activities of the Lord begin from his dealings with the Pandavas. There are many other pastimes of the Lord in connection with his dealings with the Asuras and others. So, this, just like when Prabhupada named the deities in Delhi, it said the Parthasarathi, Radha Parthasarathi. So there was one person that criticized that. He said, you can't name the deities like this. But actually, Prabhupada didn't make a mistake by naming the deities like that, because what does Parthasarathi mean? It means the driver of Arjuna, right? Well, who's the driver of Arjuna? It's Krishna. And therefore, when it says Radha Parthasarathi, it means Radha and Krishna, right? So it's not a mistake to name the deities like that. So there are many times where neophyte devotees become misinformed by unbona fide speakers. And it happens a lot. So one has to be very careful to hear from bona fide devotees. Hear the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam from bona fide devotees. And that's why Prabhupada says, if hearing is from right sources, it acts very quickly. Generally, people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from them becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and then hear from him. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. Okay, so we'll stop right there and continue tomorrow. Hari Bol. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.